Good morning, everybody. So in chapter 5, the first problem we're going to do is problem 19, which is right here on page 223. We've got 4 parts to the problem, and I'm going to walk through each one. All the data that you need is in this part, the head note right here. So I'm going to start by walking through the first 2 questions, present yearly net operating income and break even in unit sales and dollar sales. So we're just going to organize the information as we've done in the past into a contribution margin income statement. So we've got sales, 15,000 units, variable cost, contribution margin, fixed cost, net operating loss. We're going to plop in the numbers that are given to us in the part of the head unit or the head note to the problem. We're going to do this calculation. We're going to notice that our contribution margin is $30 per unit, which is either the 70 minus 40 or the 450 divided by 15,000 units. That's part 1. Now we're going to go to part 2. How do we figure out break even? Here's our formula, what I've got to cover, divided by how I'm going to get there. So I've got 540 in fixed costs, 30 per unit contribution margin, so that's 18,000 units. I can do 18,000 units times my sales price to get the sales revenue dollars to break even. I can also calculate my contribution margin ratio, contribution margin divided by CM, take 540,000 divided by the CM ratio, and I'll get that same dollar amount in sales. All right, that's part 1 and 2. Now part 3 is the hard part, which is what is the optimal price to earn the most amount of profit possible? Now there are 2 ways to attack this problem. One is by using a math equation, an algebra equation. The other is by setting it up the way a computer program would set it up. So these are your 2 options. And the way that I did it, my notes that are on campus, is I also set it up in a table to mimic a computer program. You can do it on an Excel spreadsheet. So here what we're doing is we're taking the income statement, and instead of doing it vertically, we're just flipping it horizontally. So I've got sales price per unit minus variable expense per unit gives me contribution margin. How many units do I have? That'll tell me my total contribution margin minus fixed cost. At the price of 70, I'm losing $90,000. And this agrees with the income statement that we just did in part 1. So that's my base case. Now what I'm going to do is note that I'm going to start dropping my selling price by $2. There'll be no change to my variable expenses because we're just playing with price. What is optimal price? But every time I drop the unit selling price by $2, I'm going to take the volume up by 5,000 units, which is a lot. So we can see that for the very next one, we're going to drop the selling price $2, variable costs stay the same, so contribution margin is going to drop by $2, and this is what we call fall through. Pricing changes fall through to the bottom line because costs don't change. So now my units have gone up to 20,000, so $28 a unit at 20,000 is $560. My fixed expenses are still $540, so look, I finally got a profit. I wonder if it's the most profit I can get. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the unit selling price down to 66. Whoops. I'm going to take my volume up to 25, and look, I can make more money. So the trick is to keep going. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to make more money. This is where Excel will be your best friend. I'm going to make more money. I'm going to make more money. Oh, look at that, I'm going to make less money. Once the curve turns, you can stop. You don't have to do any more. The maximum profit is $270,000, and we can get that at 45,000 units sold at $58 per unit. Okay, so that's the answer to number 3. So now, once we know the answer to number 3, we're going to calculate the new contribution margin and break even. So we're now down on part 4. At the selling price of 58 per unit, the contribution margin is 18 per unit. That's 58 per unit. The 40 per unit variable cost hasn't changed, so we're at 18 per unit contribution margin. So the way this is going to look is we have again our standard formula. What I've got to cover, 540,000 in fixed cost. How am I going to get there? 18 bucks at a time. It's going to take me 30,000 units to get there. And dollar sales, that's $1,740,000. Why is this break even different? It's because part of my equation has changed. I've put them side by side here. What I've got to cover to get to break even is still fixed expenses, and those haven't changed. But how I'm going to get there has changed. In the original base case, I was selling at 70 bucks. My cost was 40, so I was getting there 30 bucks at a time. But in my new base case, I'm only selling at 58, so I'm getting there 18 bucks at a time. So that's going to increase dramatically my break even because I'm cutting my contribution margin per unit. So my break even is going to go from 18,000 units to 30,000 units. And that's the end of problem 19.